Now we're going to move into the next stage of this process, which is where we actually begin the process of releasing the old disempowering beliefs. And that allows us to move on to the next stage, which is reprogramming. So releasing, then reprogramming. We need to release first. A lot of people are trying to reprogram without releasing. So that's where you're doing all the positive affirmations and you're doing all the stuff and you're reading books and going to seminars and you're doing all this great stuff. You're putting all this great stuff in. You're reprogramming, but it's not taking root in your subconscious mind because you haven't released all the nasty stuff that is directly contradicting your desired outcome. So we're going to release first, then reprogram. Okay. Now, releasing is something that we naturally do. And there are all of these different modalities that help us to release on things that we're not automatically releasing on, the things that sort of get stuck. Okay. These things that get lodged in our subconscious because they have some type of negative emotional charge. So I'm going to take you through a very basic exercise. And of course, we know, and if you're a member of my Inner Game Academy, you know that there are a variety of different tools that we can use to do this releasing process. Some of them are going to work more effectively for certain people. Some of them are going to work more effectively for certain challenges that you have. But the one that we're going to do right now is the most basic fundamental one. It can be highly effective. You can use this as your only releasing process if it works fantastic for you. This one is us basically utilizing our natural process in a more mindful way. Okay. So what I mean by that is when an emotion is triggered. And when I say triggered, that means we have some type of old, maybe belief or negative association that then gets sort of activated by a person or a circumstance. Something happens and we immediately feel that negative feeling that we felt so many times before. Our spouse does something that really pisses us off, right? Every time they do it, it pisses us off. That's a trigger. Now, sometimes our negative emotions are not triggers. So you can be going through your typical daily stuff and you see, something come up on your news feed and it's a current event that is really unpleasant and you feel negative emotion. Well, there's not necessarily a trigger that caused that negative emotion. That is a natural response to something that you're observing, right? You will naturally process that out, meaning you'll get over it. You'll forget about it. You'll move on. But now if it's a trigger, so you have that same scenario, something comes up and maybe it is a trigger. It is associated with some old negative, emotionally charged memory. And so you go right back into all the old thoughts, all the old feelings about that particular subject, what that's bringing up for you, whatever the insecurity is, or this feeling of injustice, or this anger, right? We see this a lot. People get really hung up on these things, and they have this war against this and this mission to, change this. And they're going about it from this really sort of disempowered, highly triggered place rather than being more calm, more objective, more empowered, looking at how can we make this world a better place. They're saying, I have to change this thing because it's bad, it's awful, it's wrong. Okay. Those are the triggers that we're referring to. So now, when you're just processing out a negative emotion and there is no trigger and you're not hung up on anything, you're going to go through a natural process of releasing and letting it go. But if you are encountering a trigger, you're going to notice that process is not naturally occurring. You're stuck in the negative loop. You're thinking negative thoughts now. You're feeling very negative. You might be grumpy or sad or whatever, but whatever is coming up for you, you're not processing it in a natural, normal, healthy way. You're not releasing and letting it go. You're just almost kind of compiling and compounding more negative feelings on top of what already was a sore subject. And so you're going to notice with your habits, you've got triggers. You've got all sorts of compiled, nasty, negative emotions. And those things, when they get triggered, now are just, there you go. You've turned the on button on the crappy thoughts and the crappy feelings, and you're stuck. We are going to activate the releasing process so that we can release and let go of those stuck thoughts, those stuck feelings, the whole pattern that is sort of the sticking point, why we haven't been able to release and let this go and transition beyond this old pattern.